Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I have a really exciting show for you today. We're bringing back Mike Simmons for his third interview series, and we're going to talk about a couple of things that he is really passionate about. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm good to be back.
Excellent, man. Thank you for doing this. Almost spending 2 hours with me, folks. You guys have no idea how much time he's given us, so thank you for that. Mike, why don't we jump into the seven-figure vault? I know that is something you're particularly passionate about. First, tell us what it is. Tell us why you're doing it and why it's such a great asset for folks.
Will do. So the seven-figure vault is born from the seven-figure flipping mastermind. I referenced a mastermind that I joined a while back, and it had a tremendous impact on me and my business. It changed my mindset, and you know, everyone wants proof, and it gave me proof that it can work. What I thought I was striving for was attainable because I was having dinner and talking and interacting and socializing with folks that were where I wanted to be. And it helped me mentally sort of get past the, is it possible? And is it just someone I'm reading about on a blog, or is it actually, these are real people? So that helped me. And when I joined that mastermind, there were so many things that people were doing tactically and just mindset wise that was so foreign to me. And throughout the last 5 years that I've been in a mastermind, and I'm actually, full disclosure, I'm actually one of the board members now in that mastermind. So fully invested, fully believe in it. And this is a guy who refused to pay for a mastermind like that. I just thought everything's online. Like, why do I need a mastermind? And what I realized was, yes, everything's online with 5 billion misleading things that you have to try to figure out which is which, right? So in seven-figure flipping, we thought, you know, not everyone, it's not an inexpensive program. It's not an inexpensive mastermind, and it's not necessarily for everybody financially. So what we thought was, there's a lot of information being shared inside of this mastermind that if we could sort of bottle that and give it to people, it would be significant. When I started out, if I had had someone who would just give me some answers, like tell me when it comes to flipping, like how do I learn renovation estimates? Like, how do I know how to estimate renovation? How do I find contractors? How do I even look for them? What do I say to them when I find them? How much should I be paying them? What should things cost? How do I find deals? Like all of these like simple questions. If someone would have said, here's a quick video, it's being walked through by someone who knows what they're talking about. They've been there. Here you go. You can watch this, and it sort of will answer your questions. Now, listen, the best thing is to have that person a one-on-one and be in a room with them. That's a mastermind, right? Mm-hmm. And those, you can find them. They're all over. I think ours is the best, but it's not a small investment. So how do we service people who maybe aren't ready? They're not at the point in their business where they can really take on that mastermind investment, but they still have questions, right? What if there was answers to all their questions in small bite-sized videos that were extremely cheap, very affordable, and they could just, hey, I have a question about hiring contractors. I don't know where to find them, and I don't know how to interview them, even know if they're good. What if there was a video that specifically talked about that you could just pluck off the shelf, watch it, and then move forward in your business? You don't have to learn all this other stuff. That's the one question you have. What if you're a wholesaler and you're like, I don't know what my assignment contract should say. Like, what should it say? What's important to be on there and what's not important? What if there was a video that walked you through an assignment contract point by point and told you why everything was on that contract? What if there was somebody who doesn't know how to market for deals? I don't know what to do with marketing. I want to do direct mail. I heard it's great. How do I set it up? What is it? What should it cost? What should that card say? Who sends it out? Who prints it? Like, I don't know any of this. Where do I get the list? How do I know who I'm even sending it to? What if there was a video that specifically walked you through that specific question? Like, this is what we've created. It's a whole vault. It's over 70 videos that address a single aspect of wholesaling, flipping, and then we have some bonus series on marketing. It breaks down several marketing channels, both paid and free channels. So if you're like, listen, I don't have a lot of money for marketing. I don't have $10,000 to spend on postcards. I need something I can do free, or maybe just real inexpensive, but I still want to find leads. What about that? We have videos that walk you through how to find leads when you don't have the big budget. And I'll tell you, spoiler alert, if you don't have money, it takes effort, right? So a lot of times it's a trade-off. You're either going to spend time or you're going to spend money, or sometimes both, right? That's great when you can do both. Some people have more money than time, and some people have more time than money. So you figure out who you are, pull that video off the shelf. If you don't have money, pull that video off the shelf. Now, here's the biggest hurdle people come up to a lot of times, especially in wholesaling, but in flipping as well. Okay, I'm getting leads, but now I have to talk to homeowners. How do I convince them to sell me their house, right? How do I approach a seller? What do I say? I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. It took me a while to figure out what to say. What if there was a video that walked you through that sales process, best practices, told you how to talk to a seller, what's important to them, and how to figure out what's important to them? Again, spoiler alert, it's usually not the price of the house that's a hang up for them. It's a need, it's a problem, it's a challenge that's happening in their life. How do you uncover those, and how do you solve those problems? Because at the end of the day, my mantra is the same. We don't steal houses. We don't take advantage of old ladies. Like, we make sure it's a win-win situation. Most people, when we buy their houses, are hugging us and crying and telling us how much we saved them and what a godsend we were. And the people who don't hug us, and they're not huggers. They're still happy. They're just not huggers, right? So how do you talk to homeowners and sellers to get them to be hugging you at the closing because you've helped them? We have a whole series of sales. How do you deal with that whole sales process? And honestly, I have found for most people, the biggest hang up, the biggest stumbling block and hurdle they have to success in this industry is they just struggle with that sales process. They don't know not only what to say to a seller, but from a wholesaler standpoint, what do I say to a buyer? Like, how do I talk to them? How do I know what's important to them, and how do I solve their problem? So, and it's a totally different sales process. So from wholesaling to flipping to marketing and the whole sales process, there's this whole library of videos that you can go in and just pluck the one you want off the shelf that makes sense to you. Or if you really want to be smart, buy the whole thing at a tremendous discount. You can pay so much less if you just get them all, and you can do that. So if you're interested in that, if that's something that you're like, yeah, I would like to see these videos, just go to juststartrealestate.com/vault. So it's my website, juststartrealestate.com/vault, and you'll be sent right over there. You can take a look at them. Doesn't cost anything to check it out. So I would say there's no reason not to check it out. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly. I'll respond personally at mike@juststartrealestate.com. And if you're like, hey, I've got a question about this, I'm interested, but I have one thing I need to know, just send me an email. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. And again, folks, this whole interview series with Mike started because I went to the 7-figure event in San Diego. What month was that? It feels like it was a while ago. Yeah, it was October. It was years ago. It was just October.
Before the pandemic.
Yeah, it was pre-event. And I saw a lot of the operators of the 7-figure club over a course of 3 days talking, Mike and his peers. And these are the kind of folks that you want to be around. These are the kind of folks that will help you. They're not salespeople. They're just answering questions. They are go-givers. And they also run their business how you would want it to run. They're not in it for the quick kill to be out of business in 2 days or whatever. So I do suggest you go take a look at the 7-figure vault. Again, what is it again? What's the website?
If you go to juststartrealestate.com/vault.
I will put that in the
You'll be taken there.
Description, vault.
Yeah, and I really appreciate, I just want to say, I appreciate you saying that about the group. The one thing I love about the 7-figure flipping group, and the reason why I got so heavily involved and have stayed involved, is that environment of people. Not just smart, they're all smart people. Yeah. Good people. It's family people. Yeah. If you went to the event, you notice there are kids that come to that. The stage is not filled with foul language and stuff. Like it's something that you can feel good about being a part of.
Yeah, very well said. And again, if this is not the used car salesman lot, right? This is not the whole slickster, huckster, figure out all the turn of phrase, all that nonsense stuff. If you want that, go somewhere else. If you want good-hearted people that care, that want to do win-win transactions, go check them out. Juststartrealestate.com/vault. I'll put that link in the description below. Awesome. And again, just go check out the inventory. And the other thing I will tell you is he's talking about 70 videos. I'm willing to bet in the next 90 days, there's 140. No pressure.
Thank you. I got work to do. I've got to go.
Yeah.
No, listen, we are adding to it all the time. So absolutely. I mean, I wish I had the answers that are given in the vault. I really do. I wish I had them because it took me several years to kind of bounce around and figure out what was what. And, the cost of avoiding mistakes is incalculable sometimes, right? Especially in markets where houses don't cost $40,000, like in Michigan, where they cost $300,000. A couple of key mistakes in those markets, you're gonna be in real trouble. So
yeah, you cut your head off really quick.
Yep.
So let's transition to I don't know. Writing a book is never, or at least it wasn't easy for me. I know you have a book coming up. I think it was June 1st, I heard,
Yep.
called Level Jumping.
Level jumping.
Why write a book? I mean, it is so hard. Why write a book?
It is hard. It took me way longer than I really love to admit. It took me a long time. I'm not a detail guy. I don't like typing. So there's some hurdles there just personally for me. But the reason I wrote it is because when I started with seven figure flipping 5 years ago, and I got to know a couple of key members of that group. One of them, Andy McFarlane, just like the best guy you ever met. And not only that, one of the most genuinely successful yet humble guys I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
He spent some time with me, and he told me what he had done. At that time, I was about 5 years behind where he was where I was 5 years earlier, right? And I said, Andy, what did you do in that 5 years? Like, how did you get to where you are? What were the key things that you did during that time that I can do, or I can take myself and apply those things? And he started laying it out for me, just casual conversation. And I said to myself, if it took Andy 5 years to trial and error his way to where he is, making all the mistakes that everyone makes when they're trying to figure things out, what if I applied all of what he did right, but also what he did wrong and didn't do that? Could I compress those 5 years into 1 year? Like, that's just how my brain thinks. I'm a very impatient person. In addition to being a risk taker, I'm super impatient. So I did. I actually took his advice, kept conversation with him, made major changes to my business. And I talked about him. I alluded to him earlier. Systemized things. I created procedures. I started bringing people in that had strengths where I was weak, so that they could do things at a high level that I was just doing barely well enough to get by, and changed my mindset. And I was able to go from doing a couple of deals a month at that time to doing over $1 million in profits within 12 months. Now, did I do it because I was so smart? No, I didn't invent anything. I didn't do anything original. Everything I did was just shown to me by someone who had already done it. And by the way, he showed me all the pitfalls that he fell into along the way, so I could avoid those. So does everyone turn it around in a year? No, and maybe you shouldn't have, because we could do a whole podcast on all the things during that year while I was building my business from, basically a $200,000 business to $1 million business. There's a million things I did wrong. And then there were some after effects of that for a couple of years after that, right? Things I had to undo and fix. And there was some crumbling foundation because I built it maybe a little too fast, but that's hindsight for me too, right? So the next person I talk to, I can tell them all the things I did right that I got from Andy, and the things that Andy didn't screw up that I figured out how to screw up and how to avoid those things. So that foundation just keeps getting stronger with every iteration and every time someone goes through it. So I had people asking me, because I do get put on stage, you mentioned that, and I talk about my story. So a lot of people would say, just tell me how you did it. Like, how did you go from this to that? What did you do in your business? I want to do it. And I would tell these stories of what I did and kind of outline how I changed my business structure and how I brought people in strategically and how I did that, how I hired, by the way, we didn't talk about company culture. Like, as you're building your company, you can bring people in that are strong in certain areas, but if they're all jerks or if they're all bad team players, you're not going to grow. You're not going to be successful. So there was a lot of things that I learned that people don't think about. And I just thought, I've told this story so many times, I should just put it in a book. And that way I can give it to people. I can sell it to people. Like, people can buy it and they can have that. Now, what I did, is it going to work exactly the same for everybody? No, but it's not a do this, and here you are. But these are all the things that I learned. Here's how I applied them. Here they are tactically, and here they are also philosophically, right? So sometimes if I make you understand the idea, even if the exact steps I took don't work for you personally, as long as you understand the idea, right, you can modify the steps to fit your situation. So that's what the book's intended to do. How do I get from being a one-man band, solopreneur, so to speak, to having a business that is scaled up or scaling up profitably? How do I put those pieces in place so that it doesn't fall apart on me? That's really what the book's about.
That's awesome. And again, it's your story, right? It's your truth, right? It's what worked, what didn't work. That is, I'm really glad that you did that. And when's it become available?
It's available on June 1st. If you go to Amazon June 1st and look for Level Jumping, it'll be there. By the way, Level Jumping was a big debate. I know you wrote books, so the title is a little bit, maybe somebody doesn't know what that means. The whole purpose behind it and the reason why I called it that, I truly believed that I didn't just go up one level at a time. I jumped levels because I got information. I was lucky to surround myself with people that had information that allowed me to go up several levels at a time. That's why it hockey sticked, right? One level at a time is fun, but it's not as fun as going up several levels at a time with the information to do it responsibly.
Now, did you play a lot of video games when you were young?
I did play a lot of video games. Not to tip my hand, but I grew up when video games were not nearly as cool. In the Atari days, before they were awesome like they are now. But yes, I played a lot of video games growing up. So
yeah, the level jumping makes a lot of sense in that context. I was never very good at video games, so I only did them one level at a time and usually never got above level 3 or 4. So I was outside playing ball.
I had a brother 1 year older than me. There was a lot of competition. It was all boys in my house. It was just a lot of competition, a lot of sports, a lot of video games, and a lot of trash talking. So you either got good or you got trash talk too.
Very cool. So when I eventually get the level jumping book, when it shows up in my mailbox, what am I going to see? Is it like a 10-year journey? I love the concept of skipping levels, but when I break it down, am I going to see Mike as a solo? Am I going to see Mike the flipper, or is this Mike the wholesaler, or where does it start and then where does it finish?
Yeah, it does talk about my journey for sure. And the stories that are shared in there are by and large real estate stories. But honestly, it's a business development book. It's a book that you could give to your friend who's building another business in another industry, and it would apply. They're universal truths, but they're the truths that you absolutely have to understand so if you're a solo operator right now, you're a one-man band bouncing around, like, you can and should expect that what's in that book, what I'm sharing with you, everything will be an aha moment. Everything will be an epiphany, and it will really help you accelerate your game. Now, if you come into this and you've already got 3 or 4 employees and you're kind of scaling up and things are going well, it will supplement that and it will help you smooth out the bumps as you're going up for sure. So it really depends on where you are, what you can expect from it. But I suspect even if you are scaling up, you have people in your organization and things are going well, what I share in the book will make you at least take a second look at your operations, because what feels like a smooth ride could be problems that are waiting to happen, right? And sometimes you don't even know what you don't know. I've talked to people have come into the 7-figure flipping group, and it's like on paper, they really look like they are having a heck of a scaled up, successful business. And you sit down with them and they go, oh my gosh, my employees hate me. They hate each other. Like, I have all these issues. I have no systems. Everyone's running off, doing their own thing. There's no communication. And it's like, wait a minute. Financially, your P&Ls look pretty good, but you're telling me and he's like, no, this is a game of cards. Like, yeah. I have nothing but problems, and I feel like this thing's going to crash. And by the way, I'm not even happy. Like, I'm miserable dealing with this company that I've created. And there's something in the book that talks about building a company that you don't even like, right? So there's something to be said for financially successful on paper and actually running a healthy business that you enjoy, right? So depending on where you are, you're going to get something different out of it. But I suspect if you're a solo operator, it's just going to be like gold bomb after gold bomb, because none of this stuff has occurred to you because you've not gotten there yet.
Yeah. So let's tease the book a little bit. Again, do you have a story or whatnot that you could tease out that's somewhere in the middle of the book that somebody's going to go, wow, I need to read that. I need to get that book because of other stories like this. You got one you could share?
Yeah, I'll tell you one. And this one sort of gets referenced a couple of times in the book because it was an important lesson for me. And this is really more about building your team, creating a culture. When I was building my team and I was hiring, I was looking for all-stars, like most of us do, right? And there's even books that talk about that. Like, you want to hire all-stars. If you can get all A players on your team, players that are better than you at whatever they're doing, it's just going to elevate everybody, right? I don't want to bring on people that don't know as much as me. I'd rather bring someone who knows more than me. I am okay with that. So, but the problem is what people start sometimes doing is they hire the right person on paper, but not a good team member. Okay. I don't know if anybody listening to this is into sports, but I'm trying to think of someone that would be relevant for everybody. So in football, there's this guy who has made a lot of news in the last year. His name's Antonio Bryant. He's a football player. He used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then he kind of moved around. But the story with him is he's supremely talented, perhaps the most talented person in his profession at what he does, arguably. But he's such a toxic teammate and such a toxic personality that no team will even bring him into their locker room for fear of how badly he'll destroy their team. I did something similar. She was not the Antonio Brown of real estate, but I was looking for someone who could come in and do transaction coordination. So for me and my business, what that means is we get a house under contract. We bring that contract in. Two people take over at that point. One is my dispositions guy. He's talking to the end buyer, which is usually a house flipper or landlord. And then that contract goes directly into our transaction management team, who works with the title company to get that thing through the closing process. That process is very detailed. There's a lot of crossing T's, dotting I's. There's a lot of looking at numbers, adding things up. It's not for me. It's not what I'm good at. So I wanted someone to come to my team who I could plug and play. They would hit the ground running, and they would be better at it than me, so they wouldn't have to ask me anything. And I found someone on paper. She was fantastic. She had forgotten more about real estate transactions than I ever will know. And I brought her in, and immediately she started poisoning the pond. She was just a toxic personality. And my team would come to me and say, I won't use her name, but so-and-so is, she lied to me about this thing. It was kind of important, and she was covering her tracks, and we sort of caught her in a lie. And I was like, she's just trying to get her legs under her. I probably was a misunderstanding. And I started making excuses for her because she was so good at what she was doing. And pretty soon, everyone on my team had come to me individually and said, I just don't want to work with her anymore. I hate coming in here because she's so horrible. Oh. And I finally, and honestly, I don't even like to admit this, but I made so many excuses for her. At some point, one day, all these people, my whole team was miserable, and I was keeping her on the team because she was good at what she did at the detriment of everybody. And then the last kick in the butt was, before I had a chance to set her down and maybe let her go, she quit. Just quit on a dime and left me kind of high and dry with a lot of files that I didn't know what was going on. And it's like, not only did I not listen to my team, I also let myself get put in a position where she could hurt us really, really bad with what she knew or what she was working on. So anyways, lesson learned here is I would rather bring someone into my company now who's a good moral, ethical, value fit than necessarily the person who has the most or the best credentials. Mm-hmm. Credentials can be learned, they can be taught, and they're not unimportant, but getting the right team player, the right person who's the right fit for the value of your company, the values. And believe me, every company has a culture. If you're out there, I don't care if you're a one-man band or you have 5 people, you have 100 people, your company has a culture. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what that culture is, chances are it's not a great one. Yeah. And it developed on its own like a weed. Right? Nobody loves weeds. They just grow on their own. People love flowers that they prune, that they plant, that they water. You plant, water, and prune your culture, it'll be beautiful and great, and people will love being there. If you don't, they won't. And I was allowing this weed to grow in my garden, and I let it go way too long. And that was a lesson for me that I won't do again.
Oh, that's awesome. Looking yourself in the mirror, talking about hard decisions, and one you certainly wish you had a do-over on. That's always fun. Why don't you just flash the book for us there? I see it there over your right shoulder. This is going to be the final view?
But this is an editor's copy. That's why it has a little gray band. It's not for sale. It's coming out June 1st, so it's in its final edit phase right now. But this is the book coming out in June. Look for it, Level Jumping, How I Grew My Business to Over 1 million in 12 months. Yeah, it's all in there, man. Everything I did is in there. What I've been teaching people for the last 5 years.
That's awesome. And again, I love the fact that, yes, it has real estate stories, but it's for anybody looking to grow their business.
Yep.
Very well done, Mike.
My camera stopped focusing on me because I put the book up there. Oh, yeah, there we go.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you very much.
Very cool. I appreciate that, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I really appreciate you bringing me on and letting me talk about it. I'm super passionate about it. I know it changed my life, and I really think it will change other people's lives. But yeah, I'm just psyched for it to come out finally. It's been a long time coming. It is not easy, like you said. It is not easy. And if you don't love the writing process so much, like just tactically love it. I struggle with that. It was double hard, but it's that important to me. So I'm glad we did it.
Very, very cool. I look forward to getting it. Everybody else should check it out. Again, level jumping, how to, making $1 million in 12 months. That's kind of the subtext.
So that's the subtext, how I grew my business to over $1 million in profits in less than 12 months.
I think people are going to get that book, Mike. Congratulations. And thank you for doing all these.
Thank you. I appreciate it.